Want to do it?
Yeah, basically the process is moving the puppet one frame at a time. 24 of these poses are strung together, and that gives us 1 second of film time. So the technique's as old as cinema itself. That part of it hasn't changed at all. Some of the developments on Corpse Bride were, these sophisticated puppets and digital cameras. That's what helped us move it forward.
Yeah, I mean, and I would say, I think we'd all say that the puppets, unlike Nightmare, we used a lot of replacement heads, and on this case, all of the mechanics were a lot of them built into the head. I mean, they're like amazing pieces of art. If you were to take, the head, strip the skin off of the puppets, you just see these amazing sort of mechanics that were involved. So.
But just on the basic level, that means that you have a puppet do this, and then you shoot, and then you have someone moves the hand and it goes like this, and you shoot again. So by the time, it takes a week for someone to scratch their ear once.
Yeah, it takes a long time. I mean, I think we felt like we were having a really good week if an animator could give us 6 seconds. So.
But that said, I think compared to other types of animation, at least, with CG or with 2D, you have a lot of iterations that it goes through. But in stop motion, a guy goes in a dark room, and when he comes back out, he has a shot, and that shot's finished and perfect. And so it's physically grueling, but at the end, I think it's actually a lot more satisfying in many ways, because you have all the excitement of a live-action set and stage, and yet you're doing it one frame at a time.
But this is, in a way, with whatever the modern technology, this is, in a way, going back to Ray Harryhausen.
Oh, yeah, no, and Johnny and I and Helen actually went to Ray's house. We'd never met him before, and it was so amazing to meet him. He's still an amazing artist. And then he came onto the set, and I think for all the animators who again had been, working for about a year, were just like, because he's everybody's inspiration.
Yeah, it was great the day he came by. Production sort of ground to a halt for that day, and everyone had a chance to talk to him. So it was amazing for all the animators there.
Just before we gave the mic to the lady, you use puppets, okay. Usually puppets, I mean, our skin goes pale, yellow, red, whatever you want under the normal sun. Puppets, when they have skin, it goes yellow in a week.
Well, it was sort of sad when we went to Ray's house and saw nothing, nothing really lasted. I mean, it's unfortunate because those works of art really, he barely had anything left from his past work. I mean, they don't really last very long, unfortunately.
But we had about 14 different Corpse Brides and 14 different Victor puppets, and they were constantly being refurbished and changed out. So it was 35 sets going simultaneously, and the Victor and the Corpse Bride were pretty much working.
The puppet hospital was in full.
It was very full. A lot of triage.
I have to add one thing.
We'll all be on eBay next week.
The one thing most people don't understand is that the puppets are shot with real light and real sets, and I think people don't always understand that, but you can see it when you see the film, that it's not a digital set, it's not a drawn set. These are real sets with real lights. It's like a real movie set shrunk tiny, the shadows and things, and that's something that makes this art form truly incredible to me.
But how do you do it when you have 28 characters in one shot?
Well, it takes a lot of... That's why they're so clever.
Very slowly.
Silly me.
But the fact is, I think people also have a misconception about somebody mentioned earlier it's a dying art or that, computers. This movie probably cost, I'd say, about 2/3 less than most. I mean, it's a fairly low-budget movie in terms of animated films. I mean, it really, at least 2/3 less than any other type of animated film.
And you can see a difference in the way it looks. It looks so much different than digital. There's an organic something that comes through.
Yeah, I think it's sort of more like to do with soul, though. It's something that is definitely got a human connection. And to me, watching the animators, it was like a mixture between sculpting and dance. It was a really different art form, completely different from,
that's why you try to pick the right story with the right medium. And that's why this medium felt right for this story. There's something you can't even put it into words. There's something very emotional about the medium itself. And that, with the story, felt just, for me anyway, made this story feel much more emotional.
Ma'am?
Mila Kanev mix to the equation for Johnny. Johnny, you seems to have a terrific rapport with the kids, and you seems like enjoying really very much working with them. Like you're a kid inside. I'm wondering how hard or easy is it to work with kids, and if you have any plans in the future to work with kids, and any funny stories.
Or to have more kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just have more kids and work with them. Yeah. Or put them to work and retire. Yeah, no, I enjoyed working with the kiddies. I think. The sets were fantastic. Freddie Highmore really is an absolute treat. I mean, on Charlie, he was an absolute treat to work with, and as on Finding Neverland. And then Tim.
It was your question.
No, you know, cast them.
No, they were all very good kids. What? They were all very good kids.
They were in school.
Question over there.
Most of them were great.
Hi. Over here.
Sometimes.
Hi, Tim. I know animation is your first love. What kind of group, like how large was your group of animators that you work with, and how hands-on were you?
Well, I try not to touch the animators too much because they don't really like that when I do that. But I mean, it sort of fluctuated a bit, didn't it? I mean, the core key animators, what we had about
12. Yeah, there was a team of about 12, and sometimes it would fluctuate up to 20 or so.
Yes. So, yeah, and actually some people kind of, because it's not a lot of people really do it, so it was like on Nightmare, there were some people that really never had done it, but then started to get good at it, so by the end of it, they, actually became, good animators.
Did you touch them then?
Well, once the puppets get the hang of it, don't they just start moving themselves?
Yeah.
they get the part down.
Question here, then question there.
Hi, Jacinta Westling with CTV News. This is a question for Johnny. You've worked with Tim so often. I'm wondering what you've learned from him, especially in this project.
Not to touch the animators. Let's see. Yeah. Number 2 jokes. Each time out of the gate, it's a kind of an education, really, for me, and just learning how to spell this week. But working with Tim and sort of watching that progression, being able to experience that, and watching him work. It's amazing because what's most inspiring is his drive, but also his inability to compromise his vision. It really gives you strength, and the atmosphere that he creates for actors, and I would imagine puppets, is so incredible. Because, like, for me, it's sort of like. And I'm sure for these guys too, it's like being home, So it's a place like home where you can take a risk and not worry that you've gone too far. There's always someone to rein you back in. And, so yeah, I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount of things from Tim.
Johnny, could you tell us a little bit about the farewell, that sort of explosive farewell to Hunter Thompson? I understand you had a part in organizing it. Just tell us about the experience.
Yeah. Well, Hunter's wishes were laid out perfectly, exactly in the way that he wanted them to the letter. He got what he wanted in terms of his farewell. So everybody was very, very pleased. Obviously very emotional. Yeah, very special moment to have experienced, your last moment with Hunter to some degree,